It's Wednesday, November 23rd. From Total Soccer Show, Dirty Tackle, and Howler Magazine, this is The Goalmouth. I'm George Qureshi. And hey, Grove, cut it out with all the Gilmore Girls talk, okay, mate? You're making me look bad with the wife. Darling, I don't think you've ever heard The Goalmouth before. I'm not even sure you know why I stay up late every Tuesday night. But if you are listening, please remember that I brought you a Luke's coffee to your classroom a few weeks ago when they were having that promotion. Even though it was just a regular cup of coffee in a special cardboard cup, please don't make me watch the Gilmore Girls with you and your mom who is visiting for Thanksgiving. I know you just rewatched the entire series in preparation for this new release. And in fact, that's how I formed the opinion that the whole show is a bit overwritten. And yes, I am self-aware enough to realize that my own delivery of the Goalmouth could be described as Lorelai-esque. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? On today's menu of bite-sized soccer news, the U.S. national team's new coach is also its old coach. Borussia Dortmund sets a new Champions League record. After years of watching referees make bad calls with total impunity, a couple of them get suspended for being really, really horrible at their jobs. And finally, the MLS playoffs continue. And once again, there are unsightly lines on the field, but for once, they're not from the other football. Bruce Arena has been hired as the new coach of the U.S. men's national team with a contract that runs through the World Cup. Sunil Gulati called it Bruce 2.0, which, just imagine if instead of Siri, you had Bruce Arena's voice coming out of your phone. Oh, God. We have more clarity on the Champions League knockout rounds after Tuesday's matches. Joining Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and Paris Saint-Germain are Real Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Monaco, Leicester City, and Juventus. That's joining them in the knockout rounds, of course. Leicester City is the only club that has clinched its group, and the Borussia Dortmund Legia Warsaw match set a Champions League and European Cup record with 12 total goals. That's for the group stages and beyond, 8 for the German side. That is the most total goals ever scored in this competition after the preliminary rounds, as I mentioned, and only 2 short of the overall record of 14 goals that were scored when Feyenoord beat Reykjavik 12-2 in 1969. 2 referees and 1 assistant referee have been suspended for 3 months by CAF, African soccer's governing body. Quoting from the BBC, Ghanaian Joseph Lamptey incorrectly awarded South Africa a penalty in their 2-1 win over Senegal. Kenyan referee Davies Omweno denied Libya what was a valid goal in their 1-0 defeat by Tunisia. His assistant Berhe O'Michael of Eritrea had wrongly flagged offside. CAF charged Omweno with, quote, wrong positioning and movement, incorrect identification of fouls, and failure to administer some disciplinary sanctions, which covers pretty much everything a referee does besides flipping a coin and drawing lines on the field with those little spray canisters. And not even that is, required. This is Lamptey's second suspension. He served 6 months after wrongly allowing a goal in a 2010 African Champions League semifinal. The first legs of the MLS Cup Conference Finals took place last night. In the Eastern Conference, Montreal scored 3 goals against Toronto and then held on for a 3-2 win. In the West, Seattle beat Colorado by a score of 2-1 at home. Both games had unsightly lines on the field. I'm not talking full-on gridiron football lines as in years past, but in Seattle you could clearly make out where the sidelines and the hash marks of the Seahawks field had been. And in Montreal, the game was held at the Olympic Stadium, so give or take 3 times the usual number of fans could attend. And in Montreal, the game was actually delayed for half an hour because it turned out that the penalty areas were 16 yards wide instead of the usual 18. Oh, Canada. The grounds crew covered those lines with green paint and extended the boxes to the proper dimensions, and Montreal Impact owner Joey Saputo said he was, quote, somewhat embarrassed. I'll say, they're laughing at you around the world, dude. I was watching this on TV, but I had to go find a link to include in the email that accompanies this podcast every morning, and I saw a wire story in the Times of India, the Malay Mail, and nampa.org, the website of the Namibia Press Agency. However, there is an upside to all of this, which is that on the night that the pro-rel crowd finally got its wish, i.e. a side-by-side comparison of Major League Soccer and paint literally drying, the MLS game came through with 5 goals. My name is George Qureshi. Taylor Rockwell may or may not be with you tomorrow morning. It's Thanksgiving. We'll give him a break if he decides to take one. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter where you can click out to all the stories I've mentioned on this podcast. And most importantly, everyone, please go and subscribe to this podcast in iTunes if you don't already. Also, tell a friend. Leave a rating, a review in iTunes. I know it sounds like, how could that help? But it really does. It helps people discover this podcast, and we really want to keep growing it. So please do that. And I leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. Look, Canada, this is going to sound kind of weird, but maybe your groundskeepers could stand to be a little more Reagan-esque, by which I mean trust but verify. That, or use the buddy system. It really works.